shop guitar, baby. Well, alrighty, folks, welcome back to the channel. Looks like we got, well, it looks like we got another Gibson to do, huh? Yep, that's the first clue. Gibson USA, that's what it says there. Yeah, let's go ahead and open her on up. See what she got to say. See what we won here. You know, guy brought this in. Funny story behind this one here. Guy calls me up, says, "Hey, can you do a setup on this guitar?" And, well, looky there. It's a nice one too. Says, "Can you do a setup on it, you know?" And I says, "Yeah, sure, bring it over." He says, "You know what? I already checked out your YouTube channel, and I watched you do that other Les Paul, and that's what made me decide to bring it over." And he says, "I also subscribe to the channel." And, you know, I've never really had anybody do that before. And, you know, I can tell that it's a classy guy, because guess what? He got a classic guitar, don't he? Look at that, if I can stay out of the shadows. Oh, yeah, nice Gibson Les Paul. You know, you just can't go wrong. You know, when you get a Les Paul. Just a classic rock and roll machine. Well, we're going to go put some big fat strings on this. He wants it tuned to C. And we're going to go through it from head to toe, make sure everything's perfect on it. Make sure to give it some loving. And I got a feeling we're going to make this thing play pretty nice. So what do you say we get this over to the bench and get to working on it? All right. All right, here we are, folks, over at the bench. And yeah, we got us a beauty today. This one's looking really nice. Look at that. It's got some nice flamey maple. And, you know, it's got the standard Les Paul accoutrements, you know what I mean? It's got the locking Grovers on the back, big fat serial number, you know what I mean? Beautiful neck, beautiful back, you know. And it looks like this one is got some power or something in it, you know. Looks like it takes a battery for some reason. But I remember him telling me don't worry about hooking up the battery or anything like that, so we're not gonna. He likes to have this thing detuned to C, and so we are going to put some special strings on this. They're called a beefy slinky, and they are made for detuning, and they are a 11 through 54, so a little bit thicker than what we're used to, but we're going to make this thing you know, a happy camper. And so I know everybody knows the process here. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go over we're going to start from the top of this guitar. See, you know, let's slide down a little bit. Yeah, let's get in the picture here. We're going to start at the top. We're going to move our way. You know, we're going to first take off the strings, and then we're going to go through and make sure everything's tight. You know, we always do that from head to toe. Make sure every screw is all the way in. See, there's a screw that's not all the way in right there. You know, we're going to make sure that everything's just kosher. As far as all the screws are tight, nuts or bolts, you know, everything's tightened up and secure the way it's supposed to be. And then we're going to go over the neck. We're going to make sure that it's nice and flat. We're going to adjust the truss rod and get it so that it's perfectly flat. And then we're going to level out the frets. And then we're going to go over and we're going to crown the frets. We're going to polish the frets. We're going to do the fret ends here. They got the nibs on this thing, and you know, it's, maybe I won't even do it. I don't think I'm going to mess with that. A lot of times if you can, we'll tighten in here a little bit. You can see it's got that. Maybe you can't. Let's see. You can move right in there. Let's go on in slow. Keep going. Oh, can we do it? Can we do it? I don't think we can do it. There we go. Anyway, as you can see, there's a little nub right there. See how the plastic, how the side here comes up, and then it's come up there, and then it goes up to the fret. So the fret sort of has meets the end of the fret, meets the plastic. Almost, it's almost like it's underneath the edge of that plastic, and that's so it makes for a real nice smooth edge down here, and that's what guitar players want. They want a real nice smooth edge across that that right there. So when their hands slide, they don't catch anything. You know, there's some guys will test this. They'll take a nylon and stick it over their hand. You know, a pair of pantyhose kind of. You know, stick it over their hand and they'll go like this across the thing, and they'll look and see if there's any scratches or runs in that, and that will kind of tell you. But what we're going to do is we'll take that, we'll get everything smooth. Then we're going to condition the fretboard. We'll clean the fretboard real good, get all the dirt and grime and grunge and stuff like that off of it. And then we will condition the fretboard so it puts a little bit of hydration in there and keeps it nice. And then when we get done with all that, we're going to tackle the body, and we'll go through every last thing on the body too. You know, every last thing. Let's widen out. Okay? So, with all that said, I'm going to kind of just go ahead and do some of these things here, and we'll show you just a little bit in between. Alright? Alright, we got the strings off. Took the tail piece off it so it don't slide across the body. And now we're going to go ahead and we're going to take the truss rod cover off here. And that way we can adjust the truss rod, because you know it's going to need some adjusting. Alright, take that off. And might as well just point down here. Okay. And what we're going to do next is we're basically going to go over these, over the tuners here. And we're going to turn this sucker over like that. You know. Alright, we're nice and careful. And basically I'm just going to take the screwdriver and go over each one of these screws. Make sure they're nice and tight, you know. And then I'm going to turn the knobs on these, turn the knobs on the tuners to make sure that they're all turned about the same tightness. See, this one's a little bit tighter. Yeah, these are all pretty tight. And I can adjust the little screw on the end here. The little screw right here on the end. And with that way we can, you know, I can turn that and then I'll loosen it to make it turn a little bit easier. Because you don't want them really turning hard for you, you know what I mean? Looks like we've got a little bit of a dent there. Anyways, we'll go over and check the front of that, the back of these, and then we'll tighten up the nuts on the front there, make sure that's all good and tight, and then we'll move on to adjusting the truss rod. So I'll be back in a minute. Alrighty, we got the tuners all tightened up real nice. Everything's all tight, everything's right. But what we did also too is I put a little bit of oil right there in where the you know, right there where the washers are. And that just helps keep things lubricated a little bit. Alright, now we're going to move on to the neck, and we're going to take our straight edge and we're going to stick that across the frets here. I'm going to rock it back and forth. If it does rock, you can hear that? That's the rocking, okay? That means that it's high in the middle, okay? And I think I'm just gonna move down here just a wee, maybe widen out just a little bit. There we go. That's better. Okay? So, what I'm gonna do is I know I gotta loosen up the truss rod a little bit. So I'm gonna come down here to the truss rod, and it's just like a screw, you know, you turn it one way and it loosens it, turn it the other and it tightens it. So I'll turn it down just a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of lift up the guitar and just sort of push down a little bit and lift up like that, you know. Kind of help it go in the direction that I want it to. Okay? And I'll come back here. See if it's still rocking. Which it is, just a little bit. So I'll give it just a little bit more. You know, one of the most common things that I found with guitars is that somebody has tightened up the truss rod like way too much. And, you know, it puts a lot of different stresses on the neck when you tighten this thing up. And, you know, we don't want to put stress on the neck. So we'll come in here and we'll see, now that's not rocking anymore. It's not rocking back and forth anymore. So I'm going to take my little tiny feeler gauge here, you know, little tiny thin feeler gauge, the thinnest one in the pack. And I'm going to make sure that this straight edge is going right straight across the middle of the fretboard. Oops. Across the middle of the fretboard. Okay. And then from the back side, I'm going to try to stick this feeler gauge in the top, between the top of the fret and the straight edge. And if I can't, that way I know I got it flat. And it looks like I'm getting bada boom, bada bing, bada boom, all the way across here. What slides under just a little bit on that one right there. But everything else is in good shape. and there should be a little bit of fall off on the end. So I got a, let me see, which one was that? It was one of these. It slipped under a little bit. Might be this one right here. This one right here is just a little bit low, but not very much. I mean, barely slid underneath there. So I'm happy with where this truss rod is at right now, okay? So we're good on that. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of, take a marker. Check it out over here. And you know the routine. I'm going to put a little bit of black marker on the fret right across the top there. Just like that. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that on all the frets all the way up and down here. Then I'm going to take my good old reliable over here. Everything's on the other bench. I'll take my good old reliable leveling beam here with the wore out piece of 600 sandpaper on there. You know, don't cut a lot, and I don't want to cut a lot. All I'm trying to do is I'm going to take the marker off of there. So I'm going to run this back and forth. And when I do this, I'm going to stay on the first fret. I don't want to make the end of this go off the first fret, because that makes everything, I can gauge it off that. And I'll go back and forth a couple times like that, and we'll see, blah, 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 blah. Oh, maybe it's not hitting here a little bit, or, you know, or it's hitting great across the thing. And that way, when we remove all of this marker off there, we'll know that the fretboard is completely flat and level. And then after we get done with that, we're going to take the, which is probably over there too. Yep, I see it. Our good old crown leveling tool, and it's got a little valley in there. You know, it's got one. There's one for one, and it's got it takes all three sizes of frets, and these are some jumbos, so we'll use the large setting. But what we do when we go over this like this, we flatten the top of it, the fret off. Now with this fret crowning tool, it will put a nice little point back on the top of that fret without making it go down any, you know. And that way, when the string hits it, it's got a nice little flat or a nice little point to ride on, and it really helps with intonation and everything like that. So when I get done doing all that good stuff, I'll be back. Okay, folks, we went over here and we leveled these frets out. We crowned them, and we're not gonna do anything with the fret ends here. You know, they're copacetic, man. I'm happy with them. But what we are gonna do is take this old piece of 600 sandpaper and just sort of go like this with it. You know, some people might freak out that I'm not, you know, covering the board and stuff like that. You know, well, sandpaper don't hurt wood. It helps wood. It does good things. And what we're going to do here is, it's wore out, you know, it's 600. It's not going to hurt anything. It's just going to start taking some of the file marks from the fret file, take it out, and we're starting the smoothing process of the frets. We're going to start smoothing these frets out. So we're going over them with this piece of 600. Just sort of, you know, starting to get them smooth. We're going to gradually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this 600, then I'll go to 1,000, and then I'll go to 2,000, and then I'll use some steel wool on it. And that'll get it real nice and clean and shiny and polished. And then we're going to put some polish. We'll polish them with the Dremel. So that will really bring out the shine real good. And see, now I'm going back and forth like this. So we'll get, you know, everywhere. Get the scratches, because that's how you sand. You go in this direction, and you put scratches in it going like this, and then you come back this way, and you put scratches in it going this way, and that way you get a nice even cut. You're not, you know, going too much in one direction, I guess. You know, at least that's what they told me, and you know, when they taught me how to sand something, you know, how to use sandpaper. You go in one direction, and then you go in the next. That way you get an even cut, I guess you would say. And, you know, I'm feeling my sandpaper. Feeling if it's smooth, how it's doing. Okay? And so, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get this cleaned up, and then I'm going to clean it off I'm going to clean it with some rubbing alcohol, clean this board off. It gets all the old hand oil and everything else off it. It gets the wood nice and fresh and clean and ready to be conditioned. So let me take care of a couple things on this bad wrap. We're going to get it real nice. All right, I got some sandpaper across there. We got it all polished up real nice. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to put some, get a rag, and we're going to clean this fretboard off. We're going to use just a little bit of rubbing alcohol, and we are going to keep this away from the body. We don't want this getting anywhere near that nitrocellulose, because believe me, nitrocellulose and rubbing alcohol do not mix. If you want to clean something off of nitrocellulose, like these Gibsons are, you want to use some naphtha or some like lighter fluid or something like that. I see I'm being real careful once I get down to this board down here. You know. And you see we got some stuff off of it. Some of that's the marker. Some of that is the marker, but some of it is the fretboard too. So we're going to go over this one more time. Get it real nice and clean so we don't get anything. So my rag is pretty clean when I get done. And I'm being careful to get down in by the frets. They don't really look dirty down in there, so I'm not going to worry about getting it down in those little cracks and crevices. But you can see we were back through it again. It's, yeah, much better. Okay. Get all the way down there. And then you want to make sure that if you got any little spots, you want to get them before they get bad. Alright, we got that all taken care of real good. Now, what I'm going to do is I am going to get some steel wool. Okay. And I got my old customized steel wool. See, a lot of times steel wool, when you use it, it sheds all over the place. So I stuck a big old fat magnet out in the back of it. And that keeps all those little shavings and stuff from flying all over the place. But what I am going to do is I'm going to get another towel here. One that's not all funky, dirty, full of rubbing alcohol and junk. Okay. And I'll put that over the pickup. Because if I do get any stuff off there, I don't want to get on the pickup. And we're going to start down here anyway. So I'm just going to sort of go back and forth here with this steel wool and a magnet. And this is starting our polishing process. And what I'm doing is I'm smoothing out that wood a little bit too. You know, I got the wood nice and clean. And with the rubbing alcohol, it sort of dries out the wood a little bit. So it sort of dried out the surface of the wood a little bit. So I'm going along with the steel wool, and that's going to help me take it's just helping to smooth out that wood a little bit. You know, it's important, you know, to have the fret nice and smooth and shiny and slick. But it's also important to have that wood slick too. Because if the wood is, you know, you're kind of sliding on that too. So it helps keep things nice and shiny and smooth. And that's what I'm trying to do with this neck. That's what you try to do with most necks. Just try to make them nice and smooth and shiny. And, you know, so it's easier to play them, you know. It takes less, it's called taking the fight out of it, you know. That's what we do here. Take the fight out of these guitars. They play real nice and easy. You don't have to press hard on the strings, you know. You don't have to move your fingers around to make sure that it's in tune. All you gotta do is just play the note, and it'll come out perfect. Okay? And I'll go back and forth a little bit like this. Because, you know, I went one way on it, and I went back the other way. It just sort of helps. And when I'm doing this one here, when I first started doing this, I was pressing down a little bit. You know, I'm trying to, but after I've been over it a couple times, I'm just lightly going over it. Because I'm trying to polish now with this right here. Okay. Alright. So we got that taken care of. That's about all you need on that. And we take this towel off here. Like we can use it to wipe this down a little bit. Okay. Now next thing I'm going to do is I am going to get out my Dremel wheel. Yay for the old Dremel. Okay. And the Dremel has a little bit of stuff in the wheel that we're going to use just to kind of go over these frets right here and polish them up. And we're just going to turn it on right here. And we'll just go over top of that fret just like that. And it's giving it a nice little polish. And man, it is making it smooth. Okay. It does make it a little bit dark, but once we wipe it off, can you see how shiny that is? That fret is just as shiny as can be. Let's zoom in. Yeah, see these three frets right here are just real nice and shiny, you know. And it really does help. It really does make a big difference. Getting a little bit of, you know, the polishing wheel on it. It just makes it that much smoother. So I'm going to go ahead and do that all the way up and down here and get them all nice and polished. And then we're going to come back and we'll put some stuff on the board. All right. We are at the next step. We got this all polished up, and man, hey, I got to zoom in on them. Man, shiny. I'm talking shiny. We went back over it, polished it up with the Dremel, and they don't, you know, they are just about as shiny as you can get it. And ooh, smooth, ooh, smooth. Yeah, I mean, your finger just slides right across there. But as you can see, this wood here hasn't had any love in a while, and we've been sanded out a little bit. You know, we're going with the steel wool, which is all good for it. But now we're gonna take and we're gonna put a little bit of coconut oil on it. Now I like coconut oil, and I've explained this a bazillion times. Coconut oil is solid at room temperature. You know, see, it's a solid, but as soon as it hits my finger, it gets warm at all, really. It turns into a liquid. See, it turns into a liquid on that board. And it's already just a little bit, you know, it's summertime, so this stuff is already loose, a little bit loose. In the wintertime, it gets, you know, really stays nice and hard. But, you know, we just put a little bit down here. And the reason I like the coconut oil is because it doesn't soak in a whole lot. You know, people use that Dunlop oil and all that kind of stuff, and, you know, lemon oil, you know, no. Use the coconut oil. It works way better. And what it doesn't do, it doesn't sink in a whole lot. I don't want to soak my fretboard with oil. And oil will get in next to the frets and loosen them up too. Nope, not a good scene, man. Not a good scene. You know, it'll make those inlays pop out too. And see, this wood is getting a little bit of soaking of the coconut oil right on the very top where it needs it. You know. So we're gonna get it real nice, and I'm getting in there all the little dry spots, man. And see, I can let this sit on here now for a little while, and it will go back to room temperature, kind of, I guess you'd say. It'll solid up a little bit from just sitting, because there's nothing warm around it. You know, I don't have my finger on it or nothing. There's nothing warm on it, so it'll solid up a little bit. And then as soon as it solids up, I'll come along and I'll wipe it off, and man, it's gonna look beautiful. So let me give it a minute to you know, solid up, and I'll come back when we wipe it off. All right, you see how shiny this is now. We'll go ahead and wipe it off. Had a chance to sit down there and get some love on it. Just wipe that right off there. Give it a little polishing. Oh yeah, she's coming to life. Look at that. It's alive! It's alive! Look at that, man. Let's take the deep dive. Oh yeah, look at that. Nice and hydrated, shiny. You know? I'll even run my finger across it a little bit. I don't know what it does, but it seems to make things a little bit smoother. You know? Gets it ready for some fingers. Fingers going across it. There we go. See? Just makes it a little bit nicer. Man, look at that. Ooh, dog. Yeah, she's spanking. So it's widen out there. Okay. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna hit this body. We're gonna go with the body, and tell you what, Tell you what, we're going to flip it over here, and we're going to take a look in the back cavity back there and see what's going on. So I'll be back in a minute. Alright, we got the back covers off here. This one's got a, this one looks like it's got an added on. Let's move down here a little bit. Right down here. So it looks like it's got an added on battery pack. I'm sure that's not stock. And I'm not really sure what it is doing. I think it's adding some power to one of these push-pull pots here. Is what it's doing. But anyway, everything looks real nice inside there. Everything looks real cool. The pots are all nice and tight. Nothing's wiggling around or anything like that. I went in there and I gave a little bit of deoxit in there for each one of these little pots, just to give it a little bit of love and lubrication. And then we got the same thing going on over here. Got the 5-way or the 3-way switch over there, the old good Switchcraft switch, and we put a little bit of deoxit in there, give that a little love too. So everything should be tidied up in here and good to go. So we're gonna go ahead and put the covers back on it and make sure that everything is the way it's supposed to be. And I think that goes the other way. There we go. There we go. And put the top cover on there. And let me see what we're gonna do next. I'm gonna put these covers back on and flip it over, and I'll be back in a second. Alright folks, we got the back plate on there, we got all the plates on there and everything like that. It's looking good, and I think we're, I went back and forth with the knobs here, made sure that they were all nice and smooth and it felt good and everything like that, And now it's going to be time, just about time to put some strings on it. We got it, everything's cleaned up, tightened. I went through and made sure all the strap buttons were tight. The pickup or the output jack was nice and tight. Everything's cool down there. Went over, made sure all the pick guard screws and everything were tight. Yeah, made sure everything was, good to go. So now it's time to put the bridge back on it. And, I was looking at this bridge. And as you can see, the saddle pieces are pretty much straight across. So I wonder if it's been intonated. I mean, I can't imagine that it's not intonated. But I'm going to go ahead and lower this down just a little bit. And we'll put that back on there just like that. Okay? Now I think we're ready to put some strings on it. And he's got his set of beefy slinkies. So we'll break them bad rats open. I've been putting lots of Diodario strings on. People have been bringing their strings and they say, I want Diodarios. And I'm a nerdy ball guy. So what we're going to have to do is, I forgot, we can't just go ahead and put these strings on here, okay? Because these are way fatter than what was on there, okay? So I'm going to have to go over and widen out the nut slots a little bit up here in the top. Just widen them out a little bit so that the string will fit down in there a little bit better. So I'm going to have to do that, and that takes a few minutes. And it's kind of precise and stuff, so I want to make sure that I get that right. So when I get done with that, I'll be back. Alright, we're going to go ahead and put some strings on it. It's ready. Oh, it's ready. So we'll put that around there just like that. Put this string down here. Hope those saddles will be enough down there. I have to raise the height, but hey, whatever. Okay, we're going to measure that off. Stick it through there. Open that up a little bit more. Alright, I know you guys can't see what I'm doing down here. But well, that's a kind of a thick string, man. That sucker don't want to cooperate. Alright. Get this first one wound on here. Alright. Got a string on it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and move this down here a little bit so everybody can see. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to finish putting the strings on this thing. I got to wipe this down just a little bit right here. because once I get the strings on, I can't really do nothing with that. So, gotta make sure these pickups are nice and clean. So I go put stuff on there. Okay, all right, we're good. All right. Now I'm gonna go ahead and put the rest of the strings on here. I widened out the nut slots a little bit, but you know, we got to get strings on it and stuff like that to really tell if we did any good, if they're right. You know, only when we get it all tuned up and everything like that, we'll be able to tell. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the strings on this, and I'll be right back. Alrighty, we got it strung up. We got it tuned to pitch. Check my string heights one more time. Right where I want it. Looks like that's right where I want it too. Okay, so we got some strings on it, and it's tuned to pitch the way we want it, and we're just gonna go ahead and kind of stretch the strings a little bit. You know, just kind of grab them and give them a little bend, give them a little stretch. Taking all the stretch out of them so they stay in tune. This is the key to keeping a guitar in tune, okay? Gotta stretch the strings. Take all the stretch out of them. Okay? Now what we'll do is we'll stretch those strings, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back and tune them up again. I'm looking at my tuner here. And we'll tune them up again. That's a little tight. Alright. Yeah, we get to see. Anyways, what we do is we'll stretch the strings, and then we'll tune it back up. We'll stretch them again. We'll tune it back up. And we'll stretch them again until the note is pretty much stays in tune. I mean, it could go a little bit flat, you know, just a hair, but I don't care about that. So, you know, we just kind of stretch them until they take all the stretch out of them. It usually takes about 3 or 4 times, you know, at least 3. You go through and you give it a good stretch like that, right there, and tune it back up. So I'll be back in a minute when I get done with that. Alright folks, we got this one all done. We are ready to give it a try, give it a play, see what she sounds like, and I think it's going to sound pretty good. All I got to do is give it a wipe and clean out the case a little bit, and man, we can call this one good. It turned out real nice. You know, it's kind of weird here being tuned to a different tuning, but you know, it plays real nice. It's got, you know, it does what it's supposed to. It's doing good. So let me let's go plug it in here, and I'll be right back. All right, we got her all taken care of here. She sounds real good. Turn it down just a little bit. Here's a G that just sounds kind of weird. Yeah, that sounds pretty good, don't it? My big fat finger. Beautiful on all channels. Doing good. Let's hear what it sounds like without the amp. It's not quite as acoustic as I've heard before, but it sure does sound good. Okay, tell you what we're going to do. We're going to go put this one in the case. We're going to get all set for Cody to come get it. And man, it's going to be beautiful. So we're going to give it a wipe down and clean out the case a little bit and stick it in there. And the next thing you know, we'll be showing it to the customer. Showing it to the guy who owns this. So we'll be back in just a second now. Hey! It's Cody's here to pick up his guitar. Hope he's going to like it.
Oh yeah.
Turned out real nice.
Oh yeah, it looks nice and clean.
Yeah.
How was working on it?
Real easy.
Awesome.
I like those strings. Those strings tuned to C. Real nice.
Perfect. About to say the action looks so much better.
Yeah, it is. There was a hump in the neck.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, you know, I tried playing it with the old strings on it and stuff, and they were flip flopping all over.
It's very buzzy and.
Yeah, they were slapping like crazy. Now it plays nice and clean. It plays just like a regular guitar, only it's in C.
Perfect. Yeah, I noticed the bridge was like just falling off too when I restringed it. Just kind of.
Oh, that always does. Yeah, that always.
Okay.
Yeah, some of them have little clips on them.
Okay.
But yeah, it's looking real good. Tell you what, let me. Wasn't even ready for you.
No worries at all.
I'll tell you what. How about you? Give her a whirl.
Sure. Got a pick.
I sure do. Well, be right back. All right, we're gonna give this thing a whirl.
Oh yeah, because I mean, just playing like the E chord, it was just so
Yeah.
buzzy, you know?
Yeah, it rings out clear.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So much better.
That's got a nice feel to it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Gonna try it through the amp?
Yeah, sure, why not?
All right. Tell you what. Plug that right there in. And there you go.
Did you notice that when you replanted it out with the amp? Did you see this? Like
No, I never tried that. I just tried it. I just plugged it in and made sure everything worked.
because this is for like the 10 decibel boost with that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you were telling me about
Pop it
that.
in. You just press that. Kill switch now.
Oh wow, yeah, heck
Battery
yeah.
out. So much better. About to say. Oh yeah.
Nice. Yeah. You know, it's nice to get some guys that can come in here and play, that can play, you know.
Well,
That
not as
try
good as
them out, you know.
That guy with the Les Paul before me.
Yeah.
He was shredding.
He was, yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice to get somebody in here who can really play them, and they can say, yeah, no, a pro that just, yeah, I like it, you know.
Sure, yeah.
You know, it's one thing to have some kid go, yeah, it plays real good, but you know.
Oh yeah. But I say I'm very happy with this. Thank you.
Yeah, it is a beautiful guitar.
I'll be bringing my SG in for sure.
All right, that's what I like to hear.
Very happy with it.
So you call this one another successful one? Yep, all right. Well, for Mojo Shop and Corey, hey, I tell you what, or Cody, I'm sorry.
You know what? You're not the first person. Everyone does that.
Oh my God, I'm
Everyone
such a
does
guy.
that. It's
All
fine.
right, after we get done with this video, you can punch me out. All right. All right, well, we're going to say adios for now for Mojo Shop Guitar. Baby! All right. Thank you for watching Mojo Shop Guitar. Please like and subscribe.